If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hill, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello, welcome to another episode of No Rest for the Vivid podcast. My name is Claire Hill and I am your host, and I am the founder of the Vivid Club membership and CEO of... I'm pausing because I'm in a transition. A really good run there. I'm in a transition at the moment because I'm moving over to being a group of businesses, companies, limited, and I think it's all going to come under Claire Hill, but I'm just trying to work it all out. So I'm Claire Hill and I do loads of stuff. I'm also the CEO of Vivid Wire. But I'm really excited about today's episode. Just finished recording it and I've recorded the little intro. I've got Stacey on today, who is the CEO of Avita May Photography. And I've known Stacey since she was about 10 or 11 because I used to be really good friends with her sister. And we've just found as well another connection of how we know people, and she's one of them people that has always been in my life for all of this time, though we've never really spent lots of time sort of, I suppose, nurturing that friendship. And I think actually after this episode we will actually see each other in real life much more, but it's such a wonderful episode. It's a long one, but it's so worth it. Like, there's so much gold, there's so much reassurance. So if you're looking for a podcast episode to make you feel like you're doing the right thing, you need some reassurance, this is the one for you. And obviously you can pause and come back to it, but it is a really, really epic one. So let us know what you think. Please send us a message once you've listened to it, and all of Stacey's details are in the show notes. But it's really, really cool. If you found this podcast if you found this episode useful, then please share, please subscribe if you haven't already. Press that plus. Do you know, I feel I'm really confident in this intro and then I'm saying plus. Press the plus sign or the heart wherever you listen to your podcast. I think that's the Spotify and the Apple. And as Stephen Bartley says, you know, like, it really does really, really help the podcast grow when more people are sharing it. And it literally takes you a second. I'm not saying you should do it, but you could share it. Could be a good deed for the day. All right, I'll let you enjoy. And if you've got any questions about anything that we talk about, please let us know. Have a good day. Good morning, Stacey.
Morning, Claire.
Morning. Hey. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very good. Apart from that, I'm just telling you about me twitchy eye. Jackson's got chicken pox and childcare, and anyway, any mum, it's just a twitchy eye. Just loads
You're
going
on the brink of holding it all together.
Yeah, and I literally just said to you, when I was just doing my live, it didn't do it, and it's literally just done it.
Of course, it's going to do it. We won't notice it, but you will.
You know, we're human beings. I like to keep it real on the podcast. Everyone knows I'm just like a normal person. Anyway, this is about you. It's not the Claire show. So how are you? I want everyone to know who you are, so you can do a little bit of an introduction, and then I want to tell everyone the love story of how we're missing a few bits of how we know each other. We'll be sensitive about some of it.
Of course. So I am a newborn maternity and lifestyle photographer, and I capture special moments in a natural way, and celebrating women on their pregnancy journeys into motherhood, and then celebrating life and all the beautiful moments that we have.
Oh, how lovely is that? And how did you actually? Now, what am I going to say? I'm just like all over the place now with questions, because I'm like, because I know. Do you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to say how we know each other. So I've known you, Stacey, for what, 20 odd years, maybe even a long time.
Do you know what?
Nearly 30 years.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was saying to Ellen, I was like, I remember Claire coming around my house with, obviously it was to see my sister because you went to school with my sister.
Yeah. I think I
And
must have been about 12.
yeah,
How old is that? How many years between you and Debbie? Like
only
two?
only 1 year,
Oh,
because I'm the
1 year.
year below. I was the year below you. So,
Right. Yeah.
and I just remember you being there and getting the bus to school together, or getting the bus home together.
You might have been
I
home. I stayed over once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I snugged your
So
cousin. I don't know if,
did
if it
you?
was your cousin. You know when it's Tommy? Have you got a cousin called
Oh
Tommy?
yeah. Well, he wasn't a
Yeah.
cousin, but you know, one of those close friends who
Yeah,
then
that's what I'm saying.
turns
I
to
don't know
your
if it was
cousin.
actually your cousin. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I stayed round your house. Might have been like Debbie's birthday party,
Yep.
year 8 or something. But I was,
Yeah.
but I knew I used to come round it quite a bit. But because me and Debbie had this wonderful friendship. I don't know if Debbie will listen to this. We used to write each other letters, little friendship letters. I know,
Oh, that's
so cute. I've still got
good.
them all. We
Have
used to,
you?
yeah,
You'd love
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. If we used to, I think when we were older, we said we were like, do you remember those letters we used to send each other? But we just really, we just, we were really, really, we're best mates. Loved it, loved it.
Yeah, but also I used to do that with my friends, and I think, then, um, it was I used to love receiving a letter because we
Yeah.
didn't text, we didn't have MSN Messenger, we didn't have
No, no, no.
Instagram and all those platforms, and then it would be using the home phone, but then tariffs used to be quite high, and obviously you didn't want to be on it because there was like three of us, and
Yeah.
then your mum would pick up the phone and go, "Get off the line, there's a train coming." So I think,
A train? What?
get off the line, there's a train coming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
your mum's full of it. Love it.
It wasn't funny then. It's not funny now. Love her. No, but it was quite a nice way to just have something personal, wasn't it? I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I loved it.
yeah.
So I remember meeting you, and you were obviously Debbie's little sister. And
Mm.
then my one of my cousins, you came to a family party and was going out with
Yeah.
one of my cousins. I was like, I know you. So then
Ah,
that was quite a while. And then there was another relationship. And that's when I had my first business, Violet and May.
yes.
And I
Yes.
remember coming around your house and you were helping me with Violet and May. So that's bloody 15 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I
And
know.
then you started doing your photography, and I remember when I started Vivid Wire, there was all because my husband knows Jess, and obviously I went to school with Ellen as well, and then you were all on a live together, and
Hmm.
it was like, I know all of you, and it's really strange. Jess will be on the podcast, by the way, everyone that's listening, you'll know she is future.
It's
I know you're
lovely.
listening, Jess, you're coming on. But you know that, like, it's just you're one of them people in my life that we know so many of the same people, and then it's like, shit in hell, I've literally known you nearly 30 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And I thought about it as well. It's actually quite nice because in some shape or form, we've always reconnected in some
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we've always known each other without actually, I guess it's never been like a direct thing. Of course it is, but there's always some way that like the kind of universe has brought us back together to
yeah,
have each other in our life somehow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice. I love it. I really love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's nice.
oh, I love it. So can you tell everybody your love story with how you ended up where you are? Because it's a bit of a roundabout story, a little bit like mine. And I love
Yeah.
these stories.
Yeah. So I used to teach full time, and I used to teach BTEC A level art and design, and I did that for a long time. But my degree was actually in fashion promotion, which I didn't love, but I loved what I learned from it.
Mm,
And I'll do a full circle and come back to that. But I went into teaching, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed helping others, being creative, and being around creative people. And that progressed, and then I moved on and I started teaching at a university, so teaching at a slightly higher level and doing some associate lecturing at the University of Kent. And then I was doing that part time, and that extra time gave me a chance to kind of really think about what I'm doing and what I wanted to do. And I think when you're teaching, obviously you give a lot of yourself, don't you?
Yeah,
I
a
don't
hell of a
think
lot.
you
Yeah.
can, I don't think there's any other way to do it. I'm sure other teachers do. But
Mm,
you're really invested in what your students are doing, how they're progressing, and not like with any other subject, with art, I'm going around each one of them, they're giving me their ideas. I'm then helping to inspire and inform those ideas, push those ideas on, and helping a creative process over 30 times, but in a different
mm,
inspired way.
yeah, yeah,
So it became quite draining,
yeah.
but not in the detriment of them. It was more in the fact of my kind of well-being, because I was left quite exhausted and running on empty. So hence going to the university, I did that, and being part-time definitely gave me that space away.
Mm,
So on the back of that, I started doing some photography. Photography has always been something that I've always, it's always informed my practice as an artist. It's always been underlying in all of my practice. So I kind of was always the one. I mean, you probably remember on nights out, I was always the one with the camera.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But it was just something that I just always done. And then, like you do, you're like, oh, maybe I'll get myself a camera. And then, especially teaching, I had access to a lot of photography equipment. I taught darkroom photography as well, so developing film, old school photography.
Yeah.
I'd always loved it. So, long story short,
Oh no,
I
you
was
don't ever be ashamed to tell a long story on this podcast. I love it.
well, yeah, but there's some bits that are a bit boring, isn't there? So you got to be honest with yourself. Then, yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm going to start a business on the side, and I did, and that ended up being IV to May Photography. And I'll just touch on why it's called IV to May Photography, because I knew that I wanted to concentrate in this area of kind of motherhood photography and newborn photography. My nan's name is Ivy. My other nan's name is Rita, and my mum's middle name is May. So I amalgamated Ivy, Rita, and May to Ivy to May Photography, because I didn't want the photography name to be about me. I wanted it to be about strong women in my life, strong women who have supported me and informed me to be who I am today. And that was where it was born. I had some amazing people help me, like some friend graphic designers. Lauren Leader, actually, she helped me get some kind of graphics down and start it all up. And then with things like a creative, friends were on board too, and they was all having babies. So I did that. And then eventually, when with any business, I'd say, and I'm sure you'd agree, until you take the plunge and give it your all,
Mm.
it's only got a certain kind of level that it
Yeah,
can
you
reach.
reach a ceiling.
Yeah. And it's not going anywhere. You're not developing and you're not progressing. You kind of lose the fire in your belly for it, because
Yeah.
especially when you're teaching as well, it's hard to do both.
Oh
So
yeah, you definitely.
we moved, and then we went. Oh, so we moved. No, we moved a couple of times, but then when we moved to the property we're at now, I was like, right, that space would make a great studio. It was towards the end of lockdown, and actually natural progression. I got made redundant at the university I was working at.
Oh
So
wow.
that was the plunge that I needed.
Mm,
And sometimes it's a bit of a kick up the arse that we all need, isn't it? To be
mm.
like, right. So we converted the garage into a studio, and I just gave it my all, and I haven't looked back.
And how long? So that was like in COVID then, lockdown.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because I have been doing it for a long time. The business itself, Ovita May, has been about for, I'd say, probably 8 years. So it's
Wow.
always been bubbling around. But like I said, because I was always teaching, I never really had the ability to move forward because I was occupied elsewhere.
Mm.
So it was a blessing in disguise when lockdown happened. It gave me the opportunity. I did get furloughed, um, and it gave me the opportunity to move forward with it and really make it happen.
And how did you fit? How was the transition from being a teacher into full-time businesswoman?
So I say the biggest thing is going from obviously getting a salary each month and knowing what you're getting to then thinking, shit,
Yeah.
where I how much am I going to get next month, and is it going to be okay? And yeah, that I found a real struggle. I think I'm a pretty organized person anyway, so that transition from, do you know, the way I had to do it, and you might be able to relate with this, Claire, is I am really good at giving other people advice, but sometimes you can forget to do that to yourself. But what my biggest thing in starting my own business was that talk to yourself the way you would coach your student, your friend, because I'm everybody else's biggest cheerleader and everybody else is right. This is what you need to do. It's clear when I speak to other people, I'm like, right, you need to do this. You need to get yourself a list. Then once you've done that, you can do this and that will make sense. And you need to do this branding. You need to sort that out. You need to do that. And instead of sitting there thinking, oh, I can't do it, I was like, no, do this. Be your own teacher because you can do this. And, you know, the success of teaching for probably nearly 10, 15 years was a result of that. So I was like, I had to believe in that and I had to focus on that. So being organized was a really big thing. And also the confidence to just take the ball by the horns and say, I'm doing this. And I think it feels like you feel quite exposed, don't you, when you're doing it, and vulnerable. But I think you just have to go, fuck it.
It doesn't stop though, does it? It doesn't stop that feeling. I was talking to somebody, and actually she's an art teacher, and I used to work with her, and there was a couple of messages the other day, and she's thinking about being self-employed and selling her art. And she said, I'm just, I know I need to be brave. And I said, the thing is that when you're running your own business, you're not brave just once. You have to be brave every single day. But I choose being brave over being miserable. And that's,
oh my God, here, that's like you're echoing. That's where I was at. And actually, I've worked as a teacher, you'll work hard, but you'll never work as hard as you do if you have your own business.
Oh yeah, I'm my worst boss. I'm the worst boss I've ever had.
Yeah. Stacey's a nightmare.
Yeah. Really does push me, like the expectations she puts on myself. That Claire, she's right bastard. Bitch about her in the office. Yeah.
Reel your neck in, Stace.
Yeah. But no, I see what you're saying. I'm sure people are listening and they're like, yeah, that's bang on. And I think from when I was in a similar situation, that I'd got a job and I was going to do part-time so I could do Vivid Y for a bit, another day a week. And then the job fell through, but I'd already given my notice in, and I was like, I haven't got a job. And Dan, my husband, was like, yeah, you got Vivid Wire. And I was like, okay. I think I would have eventually have given my notice in, but I would have been even more of a shadow of myself at that point. I was an absolute shadow. I don't think anyone would recognize me now to how I was then.
Really?
Yeah, because it just it's literally like the life had been pulled out of me in teaching, and I loved it so much. And I think that being a teacher, you don't go into teaching for the money. You don't go in it for the lifestyle. Not. Anyone that goes into teaching for the holidays is an idiot. You do not get the holidays. No. You're working 60, 70 hours a week, so really you should have half the year off if you're working double all the hours that everybody else works.
Don't get any overtime, do you?
You don't get overtime. You're expected. When I became an assistant head, in my contract it said there are no set hours to work. You will have to work as required. And as a teacher, in the contract you have 37 and a half hours a week.
Yeah.
But in when I became an assistant head, there was no boundary. It was, you're going to have to work that much. I'd gone back. Jackson, I was still feeding Jackson. As in, obviously, I was feeding him actual food, but from my body, I was feeding him. Just twice a day. But I went back 5 days a week, running Vivid Wire, doing my masters as well. Absolute nutter. When I think about it now, absolute nutter. Doing all of that, and it was never appreciated. I remember the thing is, everyone else is in the same boat. No one can look out when they're in a school. And I remember saying, like, I self-funded my master's degree, and one of the deputies who is in charge of, CPD, development.
Yeah.
I said to her, so I'm doing this master's degree. It's about trauma-informed education. It's going to be brilliant. It's all about leading in that. It's so good. I'm going into my third year because they had to extend it because of COVID. I said, it's really, it's going to be amazing. How much time can I have? Can I have some time off the timetable? You can have 3 hours. I thought, oh, that's amazing. 3 hours a year. I was like, 3 hours a year to do a master's degree that I'm paying for myself, that I'm going to lead directly into the leadership of kids. Yeah, 3 hours.
For my practice in this school and only benefit the school.
I was like, there is no way that it's just an absolute, it absolutely crushes you.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, within institutions, and
absolutely,
it gets, the teaching process gets lost. The reason why we're all going into doing it is because we want to help. But I remember spending so much time doing all of the other stuff that goes with it, and just walking across the studio and the student saying to me, oh, Stacey, could you just, and I was like, oh, I just need to go and it was a bit of businessy paperwork, and that happened to me 3 days, three times, and I think the same morning, and I was just like, no, this is not here. I'm not going to keep telling to my students, no, you're just going to need to wait for a minute because I just need to do. No, they are my priority, and if I can't do that, what am I doing? Yeah. And like you said, if you can't then inform your practice, if you can't be the best version and you can't be supported in something that is what you're there for, how can you be happy? How can you be fulfilled?
Yeah. And I think, and that's when you get to that balance of saying, I love teaching so much. You do grieve it, I think. You grieve the kids. I remember walking out saying to my colleague, like, where does all the love go? Because I loved those kids. I adored them. Like, I kid
you not. The reason that I stayed in teaching for so long was through them, because I would be like every year, like, but I just want to see them through to finish.
Yeah.
And I just want to see them through to finish, to make sure that they get the consistency.
Yeah.
And then, then it would be like, oh, well, that's 3 years for a degree, or, 2 years for their BTEC or whatever. And then it's like, how long do you do that for? And it is always for the love of the student, but you have to be careful that it's not of the detriment to your own well-being, because as we say with everything in life, if you're not on top form, then no one else around you is getting the best of you.
No. And that's the thing, where part of my research for the master's degree, I went into my sister's school that she's deputy at, and part of that practice of trauma-informed education is to support the member of staff, the teacher, the teaching and learning support system, all of that, to support them to find time in their day to create that energy. And that through that research is where this whole my term warrior energy came from. Because if you aren't filling your cup, and I actually yesterday when Jackson was being a little shit, I love him so much. He's so magical. Yesterday he went to me, I said, you are a real magical person. I went over to see my friend Kelly that you've taken the pictures of yesterday really quickly, of little baby Sloane. On the way, I was like, oh, Jackson, you are magical. He was talking about something and he went, I'm magical because you made me with your love. And I was like,
my heart is on the floor.
And then you've just been a little shit. It's just he knows how to do it. But when I was saying to him, I went, here's a cup, Jackson, right? this is what happens to this cup. This is mummy and daddy's cup. Look, when you're not making good choices, fills up a bit of water. When you're really rude and unkind, fills up a bit of water. When you won't do as you're told, fills up a bit of water. And then look, and then I made it overflow. He said, oh, it's falling over. And I went, yeah, that's when we start shouting. That's when we lose our temper. I said, but mummy and daddy, we can make that cup bigger. And that's why mummy gets up in the morning, and you're not supposed to be up. So I get up at 5 a.m. so I can make my cup bigger. And that's what teachers need to understand. Like, but if you to have the capacity to be the best version of yourself and give as much as you need to give, your cup's got to be bloody massive. And the amount of teachers in that during that
you need a bucket
period, you need a 10-ton bucket. When the teachers, I said, like, what do you all do for joy? And none of them in that first session of the training in the school, none of them was doing anything. And it was actually my sister now, she sings in a choir. She's like doing her house up at the minute, which is obviously an amazing joy, stress, but, you know, real joy.
Yeah.
She's really noticed where you need to, if you're giving, you need to have that ability to fill up your cup or make your cup bigger. And if you don't, you're going to burn out. And that's what the education system needs, that time.
It does. But it's easier said than done when you're working, when you've got children, when you've got commitments. But I think it does need to be made a priority, because like any public service job, it's a lot. And I think that, people just need to look after themselves a bit more.
You have to, and that's the thing that you have to recognise. You have to love yourself more than you love the job and love the kids. And that's so hard. And in those moments you think, God, I'm so selfish, but you're not, because I'm like, I appreciate that I'm literally living my dream now, even though I've got more dreams to get to. But being able to inform other women, and we were saying about empower women through you know, my coaching and my mentoring and all of that, as well as being an artist and being creative and teaching art with my workshops. That's like a dream. And I think it's okay. And I feel like I'm not impacting children anymore, but what I'm doing this year is making space, and I'm going to volunteer like with young carers and teach them wire art and give them free kits, because my business is allowing that. And then it's like, well, that doesn't really change. You know, if you should, I always feel like somebody's saying you shouldn't have given up on teaching. You've let all of those kids down.
And
you know what I mean? That guilt.
I do hear you when you say that, because like I said, you give it, when you do it, you give it all, and you do it from a place of love. You can't do it otherwise. So when you genuinely want to teach, it's really hard to let go of that. And actually, when you were speaking there, my heart was a little bit achy. I was like, yeah, but I think the way we have to look at it is that we gave that, we've done that, and those students have now progressed because of us. I'm sure you have students message you and say, you know, things of how they're doing. And I've had students, might be a bit different because my students are older, and contact.
I love it. There's a few of my students that follow me on Instagram, and it's really weird. And I'm like, they've heard me swear now.
Yeah, and you've got a life outside of the classroom. What?
Yeah.
I remember, because my students were being a bit older, if they ever saw me like out, because I started teaching quite young, they'd be like, what are you doing here? And I'd be like, I'm like 25. What are you doing here? You're like just 18. So like, as if I didn't have a life outside of the art studio. But no, it is. And I think I just hold on to the fact that we've done our bit there, and I'm a great believer in everything happening for a reason.
Yes.
So we've been, you know, everything was meant to lead us to this point, and all of that practice that we've done in teaching has informed our practice now as business owners, and, you know, your wire art and workshops, and my practice as well. So I think, you know, like, it's almost like what I said to you at the beginning, that I circled back to my degree that I did and didn't necessarily enjoy it, but actually I wouldn't change it at all. It informed my practice. I learned how to promote. I learned how to make an idea sound good, even if it was boring. And that obviously stood me in good stead for teaching.
Yeah.
and how to style, how to be creative, how to do magazine publications, how to write press releases, how to art direct, to be on set of photo shoots, all of that stuff. And at the time I was just like, oh God, just going through the motions. I think it was more the industry that I didn't like, fashion. I think you're either in it or you're out of it. And I was just like, it's very cutthroat. And I was like, at the time, I don't want to work against people. I want to work with people. So naturally, I went into teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like I said, all of that informs me, and it, all of that stuff enables me to run my own business. And I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
But all of that allowed me to teach. It allowed me to the dog stretching.
I thought it's your dog's just farted.
Yeah, that would be a nice one, wouldn't it?
I'm going to leave that in. You might not be able to hear it though. Soon sometimes.
The dog farting. Sorry about that. It's all just habits that have led me to be able to do what I do now. And I can't believe that. So from lockdown, we were able to open up the studio when we did it all from April 2021, when everything opened back up again. And it was kind of daunting, but now it's my full-time job and I can't believe it. I can't believe that I am fully booked. I can't believe that I get continual bookings. And it's just
always fully booked though as well, aren't you?
Yeah, it's I'm so grateful and I'm so determined and inspired continually, and I think that's the reason why I continue to do what I do, because my heart feels full doing what I'm doing.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
It is nice. So and I do have to sit back and feel grateful and just go, you've done this, well, not you've done it, but you're doing it. I don't think you've ever done it. I don't want to jump the gun, but you're doing this and you've got this. And
there's a lovely tipping point. I've had a couple, I think, because then I know that I'm like, there's another level coming. Do you know what I mean? Like when you go, oh, I know what I'm doing. And then I'm like, yeah, but I've got that idea. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm always, I say glutton for punishment, but I just want to, there's always something on the back burner. But it's that feeling of going, and I was thinking about this recently because it was like a year ago that I was like, well, I'm going to start a membership.
Yeah.
It's not been an easy thing to do. It's a really uncomfortable thing to do. But that doesn't mean that it being uncomfortable and difficult has meant that it's been a horrible thing to do, if you know what I mean. Like I've learned so much by running the membership, like huge lessons. And the element of like, I did a live on Instagram about that, sort of like you have these ideas of, how you becoming a photographer and doing this and following that passion. When you look back and you doubt that, you always look back and think, I remember when I didn't know if it was a good idea to do it. I didn't know if it was a good idea to go full time. And then you look back at the evidence and you're like, God, if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have done all of this. And it does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everything leads. And I do, like, I definitely feel in my own work when I do Project Warrior Boss, which is recruiting, by the way, anyone that wants a space. This is being published tomorrow, by the way, so Sunday. But not begging. I've got 3 spaces left. I've got 3 books. I'm begging.
Get the advertising in.
Yeah.
I've got a book coming out.
Yeah.
No.
What? But yeah, no, this podcast is sponsored by all of my businesses. But no, the Project Warrior Boss, it really is like everything that I've ever done in my life, working with homeless families, people with learning disabilities, being a teacher, being creative, doing Violet and May, coming into Vivid Wire, blah 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 blah, everything that I've ever, my master's degree, that was like the like the cherry on the top. And I was thinking, God, I paid all that money for that master's degree. I'm not a teacher anymore. Hold on, I could make the membership is trauma informed. Project Robot is trauma informed. Right, brilliant. It's just like it's just everything has come together so perfectly. And then I'm in that situation with the women who are in the current cohort, and literally every session I could cry because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life, helping these amazing people.
And that's what you're there for. And that's, again, so although you were talking about going back to teaching and feeling like your heart hurts a little bit and feeling that guilt, actually you're still teaching. And when you say you're teaching, a lot of our informed adulthood practice is obviously informed by our childhood experiences and our childhood. So you are continually doing that. And I think everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? Everything. I'm a great believer of that. I really am. I know I've said that. But and you are exactly where you're meant to be. Although I don't want to go on about that too much, because that is my kind of mantra.
Yeah, it's my like I've recently, when my imposter syndrome starts being a cow bag, and being a bit like, if I'm trying to be like, sometimes my brain will find negative, and that is part of the symptoms I've got from experiencing trauma. I just literally go, you're exactly where you're meant to be, and everything is happening exactly as it should. And it just means that I just trust everything, and having that trust in yourself. And it's practice. It's not something that, and I'm sure you'll agree, like, you don't wake up one day and go, I am doing this. You don't wake up one day and do that and trust that actually you can you can make good decisions. It takes practice. But all of those tools to get you to that point are all self-sufficient. Like, and I'm sure if you're helping people, you can't do the work for them. They've got to do the work. You can guide and say, why don't you try this tool, do this for your confidence? Or, I always talk about writing and how that helps me discuss ideas with myself in the businesses and stuff. But unless you do that, you've got to actually, as a business owner, recognize how, and I think you might be the same, like how much self-development you go through as a business owner is like,
I think like the biggest thing as well is, like we said, it touched on it before, but the confidence to just be like, just do it, just do what you're going to do. And I think, again, like the Instagram thing, social media platforms, it's exposing, it makes you feel vulnerable because you are exposed, but it's okay. You've just got to take the plunge, haven't you? And you've got to trust that you've done enough, you've researched enough, you've educated yourself enough to know that what you're doing and your path that you're trying to follow and your business you're trying to promote and sell. And ultimately that's what it is, isn't it? It is a business that you're selling and promoting, and you just have to take a deep breath, put on your big girl pants and go, I'm going to do this, and do it.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you can read all the books, you can read, whatever you want, you can listen to all the podcasts, but at the end of the day, but some days, I'm not sitting here saying that every day I'm like, I just get up and just do stuff. And like, I'm always just believing in myself and I'm confident. It's never like that. Absolutely. I'd say it's probably dips the other way a bit more, I have days when I'm like, oh God, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this, or do I need to be doing something? Like, especially in the creative field, I know you get it as well. You're like, should I be doing what they're doing, or is my work good enough, or is that the right? And then and then I get exhausted with myself. So then I'm like, Stace, stop. It becomes a really good tool that I remember someone once said to me is, when you're feeling a bit wobbly like that, is to look in the mirror and talk to yourself as if you would your friend, or as if, the biggest one for me that really, really makes me feel able is to look at myself as a child or to look at my niece or nephew. And if they were saying the things that
Yeah.
I was saying, or if even a child
That's
could,
like that. I have all
yeah,
pictures of me when I was little for that reason.
yeah. Because if she was saying to me this, that, the other, or any child was saying that to me, I'd be like, hey, it's okay. You feel upset right now because you're allowed to feel that. I validate that. But listen, this is what we're going to do to make this better. Can we make this better? You
Yeah,
know,
what's the
having a word
solution?
with yourself. Yeah, having a word with yourself. And yeah, it seems a bit mental to do that. But I know when I do that, to be like, Stace, stop it, you know, a reality check. And I have a lot of friends and people around me who are very honest. I attract Scorpios and Geminis, um,
I mean,
and they are very blunt, honest people. And actually, as harsh as that behaviour can be sometimes, it doesn't have to be harsh because you can deliver it in other ways, but it can be harsh. For me, I love that because I like to know exactly where I stand with people and I like to know
yeah,
exactly what they think. And I don't necessarily think that that's because if whatever they say, if it is seemed negative, I don't think it necessarily is a negative. I think, well, that's their opinion. And I can either go with that opinion and say, because I respect your opinion, otherwise I wouldn't have asked you for it. But I can either go with that and take from that what I want, or I go, well, no, I don't agree with you. You know, like someone says, oh, you buy a new top and your husband's like, oh God, what's that? I'm like,
yeah,
well, it's a
yeah,
good top. You don't have to wear it.
yeah,
So I don't care. But, you know, in other respects, I'll be like, what do you think of? And if they're like, oh, and then I'm like, oh, okay, right, noted. But I love a bit of honesty. I do.
yeah.
Maybe I'm just,
No, I appreciate honesty as well, and I am a very honest person. I think I'm like, you know, I can't. What you see is what you get. But going
yeah.
back, there's a couple of things that you said I want to go back to. But the first thing
Mhm.
is, when you were saying about taking advice and opinion, and the key thing you said there was when I ask for it, and it's when you are giving unsolicited advice that comes in on the side. Like literally, one of my one-to-one clients was sending me voice notes last night where she'd been given this advice. She'd not asked for it. Opinions basically slamming all the work that she's done and her pricing. Well, that it did wind me up actually. This whoever it was saying this to her, but because she wasn't, you have to sort of prepare yourself. If I go in and I'm like, what do you think of this? You know, if I like, you
Yeah.
know Bex, and when Bex is here, and I'm like, right, I've got this. I just need some opinion. I use those opinions to
Mm,
listen to my gut to whether I want to
mm,
go with something. Bex might say
mhm.
to me, I don't agree with you. And I'm like, that's interesting because my guts just said that I definitely should go for it. I'm going to do that. And I will go
Yeah.
against what she said because it's not that her opinion isn't valid because I've asked for
No,
it,
no, no,
but
no,
it's like
no.
a tool I use. So like listen,
Yeah.
hear myself. But it's
Yeah.
when people just give you advice and you're just literally like anytime I talk about my day sometimes, or if I'm talking about my day and it's like, oh, so what have you done today? Do you think that's a good idea? Well, I'm not asking whether it's a good idea. I'm telling you about my day. As soon
Yeah.
as you become a business owner, people, I mean, a lot of people don't do it with me now, but when I was beginning, it can put you off because people are just telling you what they think about your business when you're just telling them about your day. Nobody go when
Yeah.
you're a teacher, no, you come in, you go, how was your day? Oh, I taught this really shit lesson because the behavior was shit. Then I went into this really shit meeting. This is all it was. It's just like moaning all the time.
Mm.
Blah, blah,
Just
blah.
shit.
Nobody goes, oh, do you think that maybe you should have done, no one says that about being when you're in a job. When you've got your own business,
Mm,
and then people go, oh, do you think that's going to work? I
mm.
didn't ask you whether it was going to work. I'm just telling you about my day.
No,
So that's one
no.
thing to be mindful of. And definitely, I love hearing people's views about stuff when I've asked for it. But I think unsolicited advice, though, to be fair, I do it all the time. I'm my own worst enemy. The amount of times people go, oh, I'm moaning about something. They're moaning about something. I go, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? And literally, they're just telling me a story. I'm trying to get better at it. I just want to help. That's the thing,
There's
isn't
a
it?
helper inside you, and I think
Yeah.
there's lots of people that are guilty of that. And actually, sometimes you just need like you'll get this as well. This is why we're talking. I'm not going to keep saying you'll get this, but when you're working by yourself and you have a business, when you're talking outwardly to people, so obviously you have Bex and I have a couple of people, and me and Ellen are quite close on a business journey, just in terms of having someone like a springboard to just bounce things off of. And I've got my sister as well, and they really help me in. Sometimes it's not that I want someone to give me the answer, I want someone to just hear me, because it's that classic thing where you're like da 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 da, and then you finish it and you've actually answered yourself.
Absolutely.
But because you've voiced it out and you've vented it out, that's what you needed. So I think it's always important to remember to listen to people, because sometimes people just need you to listen. And when someone tries to solve something all the time, it can actually be quite irritating, because sometimes, yes, there is an answer. Like, I've got all of my tax return to do and I just can't be bothered to collate the stuff, and I need to collate it all. And obviously the answer to that is stop going on about it, get your shit together, get a spreadsheet together and sort yourself out. Yeah, I know that. I don't want to hear that. I want you to go, yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? On top of trying to run a business, being an accountant.
Yes, that's what you want. The validation for feeling like crap. Yeah. In that moment.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need to allow yourself that. And
well, it goes back to like when I need to cry a lot, and that not loads, but it's one of my coping mechanisms. If I go, oh God, things are just too much right now, I literally can let out one single tear, and I'm like, all right, that's good.
Makes you feel lighter.
Makes me feel massively lighter now. But my husband, straight away, something's wrong, needs to fix it. No, I just needed to let it out. He still, after all the years together, he struggles with that. But it's that, like, it's just hearing, and that's where I find morning pages for me works, because I can just write, and it's like I'm hearing myself, and going back to what you're saying, like I heard with myself.
Yeah,
the writing process really works for me.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like that list, like I do lots of lists of things to do because I need to just get it out of my head and onto a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Even if I type it on notes on my Mac, it's not the same. I need the actualness of writing it down then feels like it's out of my head and not just going in there thinking, don't forget it.
Yeah, but I think that's the artist in you, because I feel the same. I think it's the doing with the hands that helps you to be able to process how you're feeling about stuff. But also when you were saying about being vulnerable on Instagram, going back to like how you feel so exposed in those processes, and I think you feel that exposure when you're sharing, you're just sitting, you're just a girl sitting waiting to be heard, you just want to be listened to. You feel vulnerable in those situations, vulnerable sharing your work, your creativity, and it's who you are. And especially, you can see you all over your business, and that is because it's authentic and you deliver. You are who you are, and you can see who you are on your grid. That is brilliant. To do that, you are exposing yourself and you're vulnerable. But that's because people associate being vulnerable with shame or a need to that you're weak, when actually being vulnerable is exactly
strength and power.
It is strength, power. It is saying I am brave enough to really show you who I am. And that's a societal like concept where we are trained to believe that being vulnerable is on the weaker side of the sex spectrum, but it's actually the total opposite. And as a business owner, if you accept that and understand that being vulnerable is bravery and strength, your business will fly, like literally, because then you're not scared of being who you are.
Yeah, and I think it's a professional and personal journey, isn't it? So maybe 10 years ago, would have I been able to do what I'm doing? Would I have been as successful in the same way? Maybe not, because it had to be a personal growth as well.
Yeah.
Because now I will be like, I used to say something and I'd be like, oh, do you think that they might have just, or do you think they think, and now I think to myself, no, look, I know who I am. My intention is never that. So if people who are around me know who I am too, and it exhausts me. If I have to be false, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And it hurts me a little bit. A little bit of me dies inside if I
Yeah.
have to do, like
Yeah.
it just doesn't sit well. And I've had to learn to own who I am and that my intentions are always from a good perspective. And despite being a Sagittarius, I am quite forthright, but not in a, I'll be much more tactile with it and a bit more diplomatic with my approach. But I have to say, if I think something's not okay, I have to stick my neck out and go, oh, I don't think that's that. Or if someone comes to me and says, Stacey, I thought that, but if someone comes to me and says I was upset or whatever, I want to hug them. I'm like, thank you. You tell me because I can't get better as a person unless people tell me. But I'm not one of those people that would be like, well, no, I didn't say that. Well, you took that in a way because you never know who you're talking to in the where that person is in the place when
Yeah.
receiving that information, you know?
Mm.
So it never might be my intent, but but then I'd worry about that constantly. Where now, as well, I think, well, unless that person is going to tell me, there isn't anything I can do about that.
No.
But I'm open to receiving if I've done something. Do you know what I mean? Like you have
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
you,
more.
you have to have, I have a certain amount of accountability. I know that as a person, and I'm talking more personally now, not just professionally, but it obviously does overlap. But I have to know myself enough that I know I'm doing okay. I'm doing the best because I'm being my authentic self and it's coming from a good place always.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I would know if I'm being, not that I have a need to, but if I needed to be a bit firm, I know it's black and white with me. You know, you'd see it, my face changes. I can't pretend because, like I said, a part of my self shrivels up inside and goes, ugh, why are you pretending not to say that? Or why are you going, yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't.
Honestly, I mean, I'm near enough exactly the same, and also a Sagittarius, so it must be maybe one of them things. Have you done human design before? Do you know what your human design is?
No.
Right. After we finish recording, I need to tell you about human design because I think it's a bit of you. It's a bit, and I
Yeah,
need to
definitely.
know what your human design is now because I think I know. But anyway, I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we've been chatting for an hour. I said like Ellen's episode
Oh,
was a long one, which is it's just so much gold. It's just so much gold. I loved it. I love it.
and I still don't feel like we're done. I feel like we could probably go
You
for
can
another
come back
hour, but
on. Come
it
back.
would be nice actually. Maybe
Yeah,
we should do that, and maybe we could do maybe one with everyone. Like
that'd be
have a
cool.
couple of, do you know, a couple of us
Yeah,
at a
that's a
time.
really
Maybe
good
not too
idea.
much, but that might be quite interesting to just
Yeah.
feed off of each other. Yeah, we could
Yeah,
maybe do
let's
it
do
in
it.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it.
yeah,
Let's do it. I like that idea. That's something a bit new. You can all come round here. Seeing
yeah.
as you're local. It's good.
Yay!
Medway massive. But you're not actually in Medway anymore, are you?
I'm not. I'm Harwich Maidstone. Right?
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Ditched the Medway, did you?
Hey, no, look, listen, you can take the girl out of Midway, but you can't take the Midway out of the girl.
Jess would be happy though if we do it because she's literally there. She literally lives
Literally just
right.
roll out of bed.
Yeah, roll out of bed and she just hop across
Yeah.
a house and she's here. Brilliant.
Yeah, amazing.
So I ask everyone on here, what would you tell yourself 10 years ago that you wish you'd known then that you know now?
I would say to myself that you've got this. Everything that you're doing right now is leading you to exactly where you're meant to be. Trust the process.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to say that to themselves about 20 times.
Yeah, but like again, easier said than done. I'm not just a complete positive, 100% positive. I have the doubts, but that's what I try and hold on to.
Yeah. But the thing is that doubts are powerful. I think doubts are the gold and people want to push them away, but I go, oh, that's a doubt. Let me listen to it. What can I do?
And I
What's it
think
telling me?
that's why I keep making sure to say every time I say something positive, I'm like, I just want you to know though that I don't think like that all the time,
No,
because
I don't.
you need to be, like you said, those doubts. And I think, again, I always used to say this to my students, and when my like friends or like other people say to me, oh, I'm a bit like worried, or I'm a bit, and I'm like, that's a good thing, because it means you want to do better.
Yes, because you care.
It's a good thing because you care. Your
Mm.
body's just telling you, like, I'm like, you should be a little bit anxious, because it means you really want this, or you want to do that, because your body said, well, it's a bit scary. I'm a bit and that's vulnerable, and that's okay,
Yeah.
because you're allowed to feel those things, and it's all part of the process of life. And the doubts, it's just how you move forward from those doubts. But having those doubts, having those cries, having those moments where I just have to go, I need to just take my laptop off for a bit, have a break off social media to fill my cup back up, like you said.
Yeah.
That has to be done.
Yeah. And it's okay to feel all of that and still believe in yourself. Because then that's why you get up the
some
next
days not.
day.
Yeah. And like you said, which really I am empathized with, was I'd rather be doing this than be miserable doing what I was doing. My mind is so much healthier now. I'm on those days where I'm like, oh God, like feel so overwhelmed. I've never worked so hard as I do now. I still rather that than get up in the morning and have that dread. Do you remember that dread?
Just crying.
And my tummy. Yeah, my tummy
Crying on the way
feel.
to work, crying on the way home. Nah.
And just thinking as soon as I got there, I just want to go home. Oh,
And
it
that's the
makes
thing
me
though
really
as well.
sad.
If you leave teaching, and I'm gonna send this episode to my colleague who was messaging me the other day about leaving. If you have that idea of teaching and you want to leave, or any job, actually any job,
Any job, yeah.
you find something that you want to do, and if you really care, if you're that bothered, you will find something. If it's that bad, if it's as bad as it really is you're saying, then you will find something else that you can do. And though it's scary, as soon as you understand that you are like that, you're never going to deliver your full potential. It's just going to be impossible, because that part of your energy is going, oh, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. And you can still understand, like, that teaching element. But I was, for me, I had just been in a box for far too long. I'd been put in a box, and I was suffocating, and then being unleashed. That is my plan B. And when I think about it, I don't agree with plan Bs, especially when you're running your own business. If you're not all in, then you are gonna find it more of a challenge. You have to be all in,
all or nothing.
But then I think, well, my plan B is going back to that. Not up for it. So therefore, I don't have a plan B.
No, and that means that you have to succeed. What is it? Eminem song.
Yeah.
Success is my only motherfucking option.
Yes.
Failure is not.
It fucking is as well. And the thing is like, somebody was saying, oh yeah, but I've got my bills and that. Good. It'll make you get up. But I was earning more than my husband when I went self-employed. I thought, well, we've got to make that money. I kept Jackson in the same childcare, because I was like, well, if I start having him at home, how am I going to get any work done? It will save me a couple of £100. Or at that point, it was like £500 a month or whatever. It was going to save me that money, but then I'm not going to be making any money because I've got to talk about. So all of those things, it just pushes you forward, I think.
And actually, it's funny you say that, because on my notes, I just wrote a couple of notes from the stuff that you sent me before this, and the main thing I wrote down was all or nothing.
Yeah, that could be the title. There you go. All or nothing.
All or nothing.
All or nothing. Thank you so much for being on today, babe. I really, really appreciate it.
Honestly, it's a pleasure, and it'd be nice to do it again. And
we will, definitely. I'm moving to the podcast to having just guests. I'm at the point now where I'm almost there. With people coming in.
Yeah.
So we just every week there'll be a guest, instead of me like having a Claire show sort of thing every other week.
Yeah, but it's quite nice as well, because then it just continues to inform you. Like, they're short and sweet, and it's nice. I like.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad.
Mm.
Thank you very much, my love. Oh, where can people
Thank
find you before you go?
Oh yeah, of course. My biggest and most popular platform will be Instagram. So at Ivita May Photography, and website www.ivitamayphotography.com, and yeah, Facebook, of course, all the normal channels. But
Brilliant.
I am Kent based, so
Kent based, and you do you organise stuff over DMs? Because some people don't like DMs. Or do you prefer?
I do DMs and emails.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't really like about emails is my replies go to junk a lot of the time, and that's really annoying.
Yeah, there is some techie thing that you can do to reduce that, but I have no idea what it.
Well,
If
when I
somebody's
reply now, I put high priority, and that seems to make a difference.
oh, there's a tip.
Little hack. Don't know if the IT people of the world will support that, but it seems to be working for me.
Yeah. If you do know the hack, guys, please message me and I will share it
Yeah,
because
please,
everyone
either of
wants
us.
that hack.
Yeah,
Everyone
please.
knows that. Brilliant. Oh, thanks, babe. Thanks so much. See you
Thanks, Claire.
later.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother, Bill Vick.